Welcome to today's webinar, EPR in Practice, Lessons from Waste Picker Organizations Around the World. This webinar is organized by the Global Action Partnership for EPR in partnership with the International Alliance of Waste Pickers. Before we start, some housekeeping rules. We do provide simultaneous interpretation today, and Dorothee, if you could click on the next slide. We provide this webinar in English and Spanish, so you can find the interpretation icon at the bottom of the screen, or if you have a smaller screen, for example, if you use a notebook or a phone, you find the interpretation icon under the three dots at the far right of the bar. So you can choose between the original audio. If you speak English and Spanish, then you can just stay in the original audio. You can choose English to follow in English, and you can choose Spanish to follow in Spanish. I hand over to Alejandro from the International Alliance of Waste Pickers now to provide these instructions also in Spanish.
Muy bien, Taza.
Very well, Taza. If you need interpretation in Spanish, you have two options. You may join from the icon in the inferior part of your screen where we're going to find interpretation, or in the 3 points at the platform, and you may select three options: original audio, or the option English or Spanish.
Perfect. My colleague Dorothee will also put instructions in the chat again, so I hope everyone finds the suitable language. After the presentations, there will be time for questions and answers, so you can use the chat to post your questions or raise your digital hand later on, but we would kindly ask you to mute your microphone if you're not speaking. We have a big number of participants today, so yeah, please mute your microphone. Okay, so let's get started. It's a great honor to welcome you to today's webinar, EPR in Practice, Lessons from Waste Picker Organizations Around the World. I'm Angelina Schreiner. I'm a circular economy advisor at the Prevent Waste Alliance Secretariat and also member of the Gap for EPR core group. Just a quick disclaimer before we start, and we have to announce here, the views and opinions expressed in this webinar do not necessarily reflect the position.
El webinario no quieren decir las posiciones de los
nor of Prevent Waste Alliance members or official policy positions of the international organizations and governments involved. But now back to our topic. This is actually the last session of the Gap for EPR webinar series that you can also see on the screen. Cooperation with the informal sector, a key pillar to EPR. We heard many voices from different contexts and different perspectives on the challenges, but also on the lessons learned, and also on the achievements in establishing EPR schemes that are really fair and inclusive. As you can see, we started with some general insights from UNOS Environment Hub. We also heard PROs like Maria in Malaysia and PACPRO in Kenya about their activities. We heard insights from the Kenya Center for Environment and Justice and Development, and also from the Fair Circularity Initiative Secretariat in Indonesia. Then we traveled to Brazil to learn from ANCAT and also Viego, and heard insights from a project in Peru by the Reverse Logistics Group. So yeah, if you missed one of the sessions and you're still interested in, there are the presentations and recordings for all the webinars available. And yeah, now we're really delighted to welcome the three speakers of today's sessions as like the final session of this webinar series. On the next slide, you can see our speakers for today. We will start with Pietro Lupi from the National Network of Secondhand Operators Association, Rete UNO. He will provide a general overview on the waste pickers' perspective on EPR, and will also present waste pickers' role in the global north in North America and Europe. If you could click on the next slide, Dorothee, you can also see our speakers. Yes, perfect. Thank you. Then we will welcome Luyanda Chawayo from the African Reclaimers Organization, and he will speak about the challenges of EPR based on the experience of waste pickers in South Africa. And last but not least, we will hear Soledad Meya from the Asociación Nacional de Recicladores de Chile on the opportunities and challenges based on the experience of the EPR law in Chile and the comparative perspective from the global south. So already now a really warm thank you to all the three speakers for being available to speak today. And with that, I welcome our first speaker, Pietro. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Angelina. I am the president of the Italian network of secondhand operators, Rete ONU, that is representing around 4,000 Italian waste speakers, but waste speakers in Italy are much more, are between 60,000, 70,000. In general, we consider that in global north there are at least one with speakers out 1,000 inhabitants in a territory. Unfortunately, we have not studies that show that, but this is our esteem. So if we can go ahead with the next slide, please. I will present the main issues of EPR in Global North. There is often a misunderstanding. The misunderstanding is that we speakers is only a phenomena of Global South. No, also in Global North, we historically have we speakers. And till some decades ago, our work was similar of the work of the global south with speakers. Then the system started to change, and we have been gradually wiped out from the collection of urban waste. We were never taken into account in the architecture of the new system. So when selective collection was introduced, for example, waste speakers were not consulted. In the case of Italy, till the year 2000, 26 years ago, we had a legal status, but then the legal frame changed, and we basically fell down in a total informality. We had a partial informality, but some legal status. We had no longer this status. When the EPR especially was introduced, we were pushed out from the system, not only for the in terms of legal recognition, but also for operational and economic drivers. The system started to function at a bigger scale. The municipal companies started to manage the work of selective collection of the recyclable material, and this was not been done with an analysis demonstrating that the new model was more efficient than an hypothesis of involving the waste speakers. Simply, we were not considered, we were ignored as we would not exist. And it's curious that now in many countries, many territories, from the street bin collection that the municipal company introduced also in a selective manner for separate collection starting from the 80, 90. Now the system is switching to door-collection. to reach the environmental and separation goal, and they are reproducing the same logistic we implemented informally till the 70s or 80s. They are basically doing the same. So maybe the alternative could have been to ask to us 40 years ago, 50 years ago, how could we involve you to make together the selective collection, and then probably we will have make the door-to-door collection from the 70s or from the 80s, not now or 25 years later. So we were pushed out basically from the recycle system. In North America, especially, there is a deposit return system that is very developed, but we have countries in Europe that are trying to reach the European objective of separation through the deposit return system. But also this is not designed to include us. So operationally, we cannot fit in this system to put piece to piece, bottle by bottle, can by can in the machine. This is not compatible with our operation. Now, EPR will involve also textile furnitures that are goods that are good for reuse. Now, we speakers in Global North are mainly focused in reuse. And we are afraid that we will be excluded also from our popular reuse economy. So, what are our key learning points? That we have to stay in the policy making processes, because when we have not stayed, we were pushed out. So simple. We think that our microscale condition brings an important, irreplaceable element of efficiency, and it has a big potential of improvement. And this is not only for our sake, but for the collectivity sake. So we can bring solution to the system, efficient solution for the system. But our fragmentation, exactly our microscale condition, and the lack of economy accumulation make more difficult for us to carry on effective advocacy paths. So it's not a technical lack, the we speakers problem is a power. It's a power matter. We noticed that the PR system in Europe, especially, is not perfect. It has a serious problem of efficiency, structural problems that hinder the reaching of the environmental goals. The last UNOCD report, UNOCD is the agency of United Nations against crimes and drug, show that Europe has nearly the 50% of environmental crimes in the world, and the PR system is very difficult to compete with the illegal economy. So it's not perfect at all. So go ahead, please, with the slide. What is our conclusion? Okay, we have this problem of power, and often this problem of power is also due to the level in which is done the decision making. In the case of Europe, we have a European Union with 450 million inhabitants located in 27 member states. That means that to be heard by the European Commission, basically we have to make a networking operation that is huge. Is a huge effort. Is not easy for an economy that is based on a micro scale activity. USA has 340 million inhabitants. So if you want to go at the top level of the USA government, you have to make a national network that is not easy. Also, the United States has states that make their EPR system, but the main decision level is based on a nation of 340 million inhabitants. The other conclusion, we don't want to longer stay in a defensive attitude, because we know we have a value and a proposal also for the new scenario. So we would like to propose solution for the new scenario. So not put a barrier to defend the current condition, but start a path to increase, to improve our condition of life, but also in the benefit of the collectivity. We could shed light on the gray zone of the system, leading our parallel collection to the more transparent channels and contributing to overcome the environmental crime. But EPR system has to hear us, as the government has to hear us. Thank you. So I finished my part of the speech, and please move to my friend and comrade from Africa.
Great. Yeah, thanks so much, Pietro. We will have time for questions to you and all other speakers later on. So if you already have a question, you can put it in the chat now or later as you wish. Yeah, thanks for shedding light on also this misunderstanding that also in the global north there are waste pickers. And I also like that you emphasize that you are open to contribute and to be involved to improve the system together. Thanks so much for these insights, and I think we'll come back to you later on for the final conclusions. But now let's move on to South Africa, and very warm welcome again to you, Luyanda. Looking forward to your input and your thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Luyanda Khatwayo from the African Reclaimers Organization. In South Africa, we have two separate organizations who have worked tirelessly to organize the informal sector, the waste pickers, and to be able to create a platform where we are able to negotiate and advocate for all waste pickers in the country. I'm a waste picker myself, and being in the space has been very challenging, especially South Africa. Waste pickers play a very critical role in collecting and recovering recyclable materials, but yet continue to face challenges in the implementation of EPR schemes. The key challenges are mainly limited recognition and inclusion. Waste pickers are not fully recognized by the key stakeholders in the whole recycling system. You know, the problem not only in Africa, but not only South Africa, but in Africa, is that there is lack of education, on waste. So getting policy to properly recognize the people that work with waste, it is something that needs to be done. There needs to be proper education. So when you have policies of EPR coming in play in a space where people undermine the work of waste pickers, it is a very big problem. So we need solutions how we can help curb the way of getting inclusivity and
para conseguir la inclusividad y
I think one of the main problems also is unequal access to EPR benefits. South Africa has very good policies on EPR, very ahead of other African countries and sometimes the global south, but they are not properly implementable to actually make sure that they benefit the people that diverge or the recyclers. Benefits often reach larger waste management companies and intermediaries before reaching waste pickers. Lack of transparency regarding how EPRs funds are allocated can create a lot of mistrust, and that really threatens livelihoods. Some EPR funded collection systems may completely flush out the waste pickers. In some instances, we've seen regulations criminalizing the work of waste pickers to make way for implementing EPR for private companies. The lack of compensation is the next point I want to speak on. In South Africa, there's a regulation that actually ties private EPR to actually pay a service fee to the people that are collecting the recyclables. I think that is the best strides that we have made, but how to implement that on the ground is very, very difficult. EPR schemes have not consistently provided payment, collection, sorting of environmental services. But I have to say, there has been registration processes that have gone through, and a very small number of waste pickers have started benefiting from that. Only in urban spaces, but in rural and upcoming areas, that is not happening. Insufficient infrastructure support is one of the key things of EPR. But in South Africa, waste pickers lack access of sorting facilities, storage places, and those are some of the things that waste pickers on the ground are really mentioning. This is very important. So the problem of not having proper inclusive processes when making decisions, that's when we find proper resources being dedicated to people that are organizations that are not actually doing the job. The next problem is the next issue is organizational capacity and challenges. There's a problem of governance, proper financial management, monitoring and evaluation. Can we move to the conclusion, please? I think that the key lessons for us before the conclusion is that waste pickers need proper recognition, and we need policies to properly recognize waste pickers. Without policy implementing it, without enforcement on recognition, nothing will actually happen on the ground. Direct participation on EPR governance structures is what we want. Fair compensation for the collection, access to EPR infrastructure, to make it a point that waste pickers are empowered to collect and be able to have equipment and training whilst doing their work. Strong partnerships with municipalities on the ground to actually cooperate and partner to make the process easier. Last slide. From a South African waste picker perspective, EPR should not increase recycling rates, but also improve livelihoods, promote social justice, and support the integration of waste pickers into formal waste management systems. A successful EPR system is the one that recognizes waste pickers as partners rather than beneficiaries, and ensure they share equal and valuable help to create an inclusive circular economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Luyanda, for these insights. I think very, very valuable. We often hear that South Africa is a good example, like you said yourself, way ahead of other African countries. And I think it's very interesting to hear from you, from on the ground, what can be achieved, what is not working well, and maybe also what other countries can do better, and also, of course, South Africa can do better in the future, hopefully the near future. I see, Virginia, you have your hand up. We still have one more speaker, and then we open up for questions and answers. So please, yeah, put your hand down, and then we can take your question later on. Now we move on to the first speaker, Soledad, and she will speak in English, in Spanish, sorry. So if you have not turned on the interpretation, you can do so now. You can find the icon for interpretation on the right-hand side, the three dots if you're using a small gadget, and then you can choose interpretation and English in case you do not speak Spanish. Thanks also Soledad for joining us and to Marco for interpreting. Soledad, over to you. And
Hola, buenos días,
mute
buenas
yourself.
tardes, buenas noches a todos. Gracias por la
Thank you.
invitación. Bueno, yo voy a hablar de la ley REP en Chile, la EPR en Chile, cómo ha funcionado. Retos y oportunidades desde la experiencia de la EPR en Chile y una perspectiva del sur global. Sin recicladores no hay economía economía circular justa. Nosotros hablamos de transición justa, pero también hablamos de cómo las organizaciones de recicladores de base han sido fundamental en la construcción y en la participación directa dentro de las negociaciones. Chile tiene una ley única en el mundo que ha permitido realmente que los recicladores estemos en el marco de la ley real. Pero eso no garantiza absolutamente nada. Por eso hablamos de la informalidad a la formalidad. Certificación de competencias laborales. ¿Qué es eso? Es el reconocimiento y certifica que nosotros realmente somos profesionales del reciclaje. 150 años avala nuestro trabajo. Siga la otra planilla, por favor. La otra diapo. Dignificación del oficio. Cuando hablamos de dignificación del oficio, no hablamos solamente de mencionar a los recicladores y decir que somos excelentes o buenas personas, sino que inversión, condiciones dignas, infraestructura y maquinaria. La siguiente, por favor. ¿Qué sostiene a los recicladores de base? Cumplen una función ambiental, económica y social que conecta a hogares, barrios y sistemas de gestión. Uno, recolecta puerta a puerta desde puntos limpios. Clasifican y separan materiales para su valorización. Sostienen rutas, relaciones, educación ambiental. Recuperan valor para la economía circular y el territorio. Porque economía circular no es solamente circularidad, también es un desarrollo económico que hoy día se está implementando dentro del modelo de la economía circular. Del trabajo invisible al reconocimiento como prestadores de servicios y actores de la transición justa. Y una transición justa que empareje realmente la cancha. Recicladores de base no podemos competir con grandes empresas y sobre todo hoy día las empresas de entierro de basura que se están transformando en gestores de residuos en nuestros países. La otra, por favor. La siguiente. Sí. ¿Cómo nos hemos organizado? La organización ha crecido desde los territorios hacia la articulación nacional y la incidencia pública. Sin incidencia política dentro de la gestión de residuos y en el marco de esta ley, es imposible realmente incidir. Por eso es importante la base territorial, sindicatos, asociaciones y grupos por comuna. Articulación desde la Asociación Nacional de Recicladores de Chile, ANAR, y redes regionales de coordinación. Escala de productividad, cooperativas, federaciones, centros de acopios, servicios asociados. La incidencia en el marco de la EPR también es sumamente importante. Convenios de negociación y de derechos. Los derechos son fundamentales porque el impacto que generamos nosotros es realmente único en este oficio. No existe ningún oficio de los recicladores como recicladores de base que genere el impacto que generamos nosotros, que es económico, social y ambiental. Las organizaciones no solo mejoran la voz colectiva, también permite trazabilidad, contrato, mejores condiciones y participación real. La siguiente, por favor. ¿Qué ha permitido la organización? Más capacidad de negociación, mejor inserción en la EPR y defensa del trabajo de base. La defensa de nuestro oficio, un oficio histórico que no ha sido solamente recolectar, reciclar y alimentar nuestros hogares, también ha generado un impacto medioambiental, insisto, económico y social en nuestros países. Voz colectiva, representación, negociación y defensa de nuestros derechos. ¿Cuáles derechos? Los derechos humanos que son todos vulnerados. Mejoras y condiciones, formalización con ingresos, seguridad y equipamiento. Sobre todo equipamiento y seguridad. Inserción en la EPR, trazabilidad, contratos y reconocimiento al servicio. Aún así, pero persiste igual la desigualdad. aún sigue, a pesar de que tenemos nuestra ley en Chile, los pagos son bajos, las contrataciones son frágiles, la falta de datos e infraestructura son relevantes en el marco de la EPR en Chile. Sin infraestructura, sin equipamiento, sin reconocimiento y sin contratos de alta negociación, realmente es un saludo a la bandera y no se cumple con lo que se quiere cumplir en el marco de la ley de red. La clave no es solo incluir, es reconocer, contratar, codiseñar el sistema con quienes ya lo hacemos hace mucho tiempo. La siguiente. Agenda prioritaria. Nosotros hemos construido una agenda prioritaria en el marco de la ley EPR en Chile con los distintos actores, tanto gobierno como mundo privado. Pago por servicio, contrato justo, infraestructura territorial, datos y trazabilidad, participación vinculante, federación y confederaciones que sean capaces de negociar directamente y de igual a igual frente al sistema y frente a los grandes actores que aparecen hoy día como recicladores de residuos cuando han enterrado toda la vida a la basura. Pago por servicio, contratos estables, infraestructura y logística, trazabilidad y datos y participación real. La siguiente, por favor. La experiencia en otros países, como en la India, son realmente frágiles y sumamente exclusivas. Deja al reciclador fuera de la gestión de residuos en el marco de la ley. En India, a pesar de las normas de gestión de residuos sólidos que existen en la integración de recolectores informales, la EPR omitió por completo este requisito y las organizaciones de recolectores no se han visto beneficiadas. Por otro lado, los sistemas de depósito y retornabilidad en Goa y en India no solo perjudican a los recolectores informales al atraer más competencia al mercado, sino que tampoco ofrecen oportunidades claras para el trabajo formal dentro del sistema que se propone automatizar, digitalizar y en gran medida realmente que sea representativo para los recicladores y terminar con las barreras que hoy día existen. Hago hacia arriba. Los recicladores de base somos el actor fundamental dentro de la gestión de residuos. No existe ninguna gestión de residuos que se pueda hacer sin recicladores de base. Por eso es tan importante reconocer y entender que los recicladores de base en el mundo llevamos haciendo esto más de 150 años. Avala nuestro oficio, que hemos de alguna forma garantizado que los sectores donde nosotros vivimos no colapsen los rellenos sanitarios o los vertederos a cielo abierto. Por otro lado, también es sumamente importante, fundamental, que nosotros los recicladores de base, y quiero insistir en eso, generamos tres impactos: económico, social y ambiental. Y por otro lado, la economía circular no es solamente un concepto ambientalista con el cual hoy día se debe trabajar. Hoy día la economía circular es un desarrollo económico y una oportunidad laboral realmente clara y concreta para este sector, el quintil más bajo de la sociedad, los pobres entre más los pobres, que hoy día estamos negociando para poder ser parte de la cadena y que no nos dejen fuera una vez más y tener que reinventar nuestras vidas para poder ser parte de este sistema y, pero sobre todo, para poder alimentar a nuestras familias en nuestros hogares. Muchas gracias. El reciclaje sin reciclador es basura. Una transición justa, sin financiamiento justo, no hay transición justa. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, Soledad. I see there's one more slide in Spanish. Will that be presented by you or by Pietro?
No, go
Pietro.
on, Sole. Go on, Sole, please. Okay. So as okay,
Which slide would you like to present now? This one or the only the last one?
okay. So go on, Sole, please.
Okay.
Oh, it's mine. Okay, there's a little conclusion, a little confusion here. I can make the general conclusion. Global South, Global North, we have a lot of point of common in commons, and we think that our inclusion in the negotiation with the government and producer should be mandatory. And only this inclusion in this part in this process of policy making will enable our participation in the new EPR scenario, not only for our sake, but for the sake of collectivity. Of course, our contribution to the system should be economically recognized. We would like to improve our standard and to align our standard of work with the needs of the new scenario, but the cost that we will sustain to do that have to be recognized as it has to be recognized our necessity to improve our condition of life. In the part of traceability and transparency, we could bring a strong and important contribution, but the tools for the traceability and to the transparency should be designed taking into account our way of work, our operational condition, our reality in mind, and making that we could become the sentinels of the system. So the observation of the waste supply chains as they really are, without drawing artificial boundaries in mapping and research, as is frequently done, shows a truth that for us is very obvious, that not really real traceability and transparency is possible without improvements. This is our general comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pietro. I hear some other voices. Wilma, if you could kindly assist in muting this person, or if someone has the mic open, please mute yourself. We can hear you quite loudly. Yes, thank you so much. Okay, thanks so much again to Soledad also, highlighting that not only the rights are fundamental, but also access to infrastructure, equipment, stable contracts, etc. I think that's really helpful to know where to start. And also thanks again, Pietro, for highlighting that actually the global North and South do have many things in common, and that it's crucial to take realities into account when designing the system. So thanks again to all the three of you, also Luyanda again. And now we have a lot of time for questions and answers. We had one question already. One person raised their hand before. I think it was Virginia. If you want to come in now, happy to take your question. Otherwise, I present some questions from the chat. No, I don't see that question coming up. So maybe starting with Margaret from Nigeria. Interested in the welfare and upgrade of the lives of waste pickers. I'm not sure if that's a question or if that's just a general comment. If you want to come in, Margaret, you can just open the mic. No, okay. Then a question from Marta. Within the definition of waste pickers, are we also considering those scrap dealers working locally who may have premises, who collect materials from waste pickers, who have some machines to reduce volume, maybe some transportation capacity to supply waste to recycling company? Is EPR policy also impacting their livelihoods? Are they also at risk and should be integrated? I don't know who would like to take this question. Yes, Luyanda, please come in.
Thank you. That's a very good question. We are talking about waste pickers, the people that do the waste picking, collecting it directly. So scrap dealers don't do waste picking. But I'm not saying they should not be part of the policy negotiations. They should not be integrated. They should, but the problem is government does not have proper understanding of how the waste flows from the bottom. Right now, they're only recognizing the waste pickers, and we are stuck in a situation where waste pickers are organized and have to also organize the scrap dealers, because we can't have an inclusive process without involving them. So yes, it is very important to recognize everyone in the value chain, everyone who's making collection, but we need to make it clear. Right now, we are talking about how EPR is implementing waste pickers.
Thank you so much, Luyanda. Soledad or Pietro, would you like to add on that? Yes, Soledad, please.
Sí, gracias, Angelina. La verdad de las cosas es que, primero que nada, existe una mirada de un status quo con los recicladores de base en el mundo. No es solamente en África, sino que en todos los continentes del mundo. Se nos ve como un grupo de hombres y mujeres bastante vulnerables y con mucha falta de conocimiento y educación. Y hemos demostrado en los distintos espacios y en nuestros países que eso no es así. Cuando se enmarca una ley, cualquiera sea EPR, como la que estamos viviendo hoy día, debe incorporar a los actores fundamentales dentro de ese proceso. Se debe sentar una mesa política donde realmente los recicladores de base puedan poner el punto de vista de la importancia de la gestión de residuos en la mano de los recicladores de base. Si podemos hablar de la crisis sanitaria que existe hoy día en términos de relleno sanitario y vertederos a cielo abierto, realmente es una crisis global, pero que han evitado de alguna forma que esa crisis global haya empezado hace mucho tiempo atrás, ha sido los recicladores de base que trabajan en los rellenos sanitarios y en los vertederos de cielo abierto. Por otro lado, están los recicladores que hacen ruta en la calle y recolectan los residuos, evitando que millones de toneladas de residuos terminen en estos lugares. Por ende, la importancia de la participación y la gestión de los recicladores de base es clave, porque nosotros no solamente recolectamos dentro de vertederos o rellenos sanitarios, sino que también hacemos ruta. Conocemos la realidad social y económica de cada uno de los lugares donde nosotros vivimos. Sabemos quiénes consumen más, qué tipo de consumo tienen y hacemos esa diferencia. Y por otro lado, sabemos también dónde está el nivel educacional más alto en cuanto a la gestión de residuos y sobre todo a la conciencia medioambiental. Por eso somos clave y importantes dentro de la gestión de residuos. Y lamentablemente, como lo dice Luyanda, los países que generan estas leyes se olvidan de incorporar a los actores más importantes y preguntar y construir, co-construir en conjunto esta herramienta que puede ser clave en cuanto en términos ambientales y climáticos, pero que hoy se ve solamente como un instrumento económico y no como un instrumento social que puede tener triple impacto no solamente con los recicladores de base, sino también en términos medioambientales y económicos. Subsidiamos cada uno de nuestros municipios cada vez que evitamos que millones de toneladas sean enterrados a través de la recolección que hace el camión de basura. Si nosotros no recolectáramos esos residuos, hoy día los camiones de basura municipales gastarían mucho más dinero para poder enterrar su basura y los rellenos sanitarios y los vertederos a cielo abierto no tendrían la capacidad que han tenido hasta hoy. Por eso es clave nuestra participación y es clave el reconocimiento, pero con incorporación económica, empresarial, porque nosotros conocemos de este negocio mejor que nadie. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Soledad. Marta, yes, please come in.
Yeah, just wanted to thanks for the answers, very clear, and just to a comment because I'm working more on the humanitarian sector, more in the refugee camps or where there's displaced people. And then from the organizations, we are looking at waste, and we are always with this view of integrating also the local recyclers into the camps, into the operations to support on the recovering of materials and avoiding landfilling, no? And that's why I had this question. Once we look at a context, we need to look at the waste speakers, we need to look at the entire maybe informal operations and not only on, I mean, at least to consider while we define our, solutions on what to do with the waste that is generated in massive quantities in some locations. So just as a comment that as a sector, we are also looking at your great work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marta, for this addition. And yeah, I see people clapping. Thank you for your great work. Good. We do have more questions, maybe one towards Pietro. Jean-Christophe Loger is asking the percentage of no waste pickers who are migrants. I know you mentioned at the beginning the figures are scarce, but maybe you have some indications here.
Yes, we have, thank you for the question. We have not an exact data right now, but depending on the territory, the migrant population, migrant waste picker population can be even the most part of our population. But we have also a population, a big population of in the case of Italy, of people that has generation staying in Italy, and there was a lot of conflict with the Italian original people and the migrants, maybe fighting for the space to expose the reusable items collected in the waste bins. And conflict in the collection. So part of our work as organizational waste pickers was to mediate this conflict and join together migrant and original Italian to fight together to better conditions of work.
Yeah, thank you. Good. I see Laura. Olaf, you have your hand up for another question.
Hola Angelina, yo trabajo en Colombia y llevo mucho tiempo, he estado mucho tiempo trabajando con recicladores de oficio, tanto desde el sector público como directamente con ellos. Y quiero agregar algo a lo que estaban mencionando ahorita sobre Chile y creo que también le aplica a los otros países. Siento que la inclusión y la dignificación del trabajo de los recicladores de base no se circunscribe únicamente a la inclusión de los recicladores y el tenerlos en cuenta en el momento de reglamentar responsabilidad extendida del productor. Aquí en Colombia, los recicladores de oficio son una población vulnerable, son una población pobre, y con esto no me refiero a sus conocimientos, porque el gran trabajo que hacen ellos debería ser suficiente para que su labor fuera siempre reconocida como digna, sino a sus conocimientos relacionados con sus derechos laborales y los derechos humanos. Ellos pueden estar incluidos en todas las reglamentaciones que existen sobre los residuos y la gestión integral de los residuos, responsabilidad extendida del productor, pero que el reciclador de base desconozca cuáles son sus derechos implica que él no pueda reclamar sus derechos ante un eventual liderazgo de la organización a la que pertenece o ante el Estado. No pueda usar los mecanismos de participación estatal que hay a disposición de la población. Entonces, es importante que el gobierno también trabaje en fortalecer a el reciclador que hace la ruta o el reciclador que está trabajando en los rellenos sanitarios, que aquí en Colombia ya no debería suceder, pero aún en algunos existen, que les hagan conocer sus derechos y que trabajen en que ellos realmente puedan defenderlos y puedan exigir que se les cumpla todo lo relacionado con la normatividad en relación a los mismos.
No sé si es el problema del equipo, pero no escucho nada.
Thank you, Laura. For adding this example from Colombia and for stressing not only human rights are relevant, but also capacitating the people and informing them about their rights. Does any one of the speakers would like to react to Laura's intervention? If not,
Sí, Angela.
Yes, please.
Por eso hoy día existen movimientos importantes a nivel regional y a nivel global. En Latinoamérica existe Red Lacre, la Red Latinoamérica y el Caribe, un movimiento que ha organizado y ha levantado los derechos de los recicladores de base como una defensa prioritaria en cuanto a la vulneración de derechos humanos. Y existe también una más importante con la cual estamos acá presentes, que es nuestra Alianza Internacional de Recicladores, que representa a los 5 continentes del mundo, donde tenemos voz y donde también tenemos representatividad para defender nuestros derechos. Los derechos de los recicladores los defienden los propios recicladores de base y lo hemos hecho en cada uno de nuestros países. El problema es que tenemos países que lamentablemente no quieren escuchar a los recicladores de base. Por eso la articulación y la organización del movimiento de recicladores a nivel global ha sido clave. Y por eso también hemos incidido políticamente hoy mismo, sobre todo en el Tratado del Plástico. Hemos incidido también en la OIT, sobre todo por transición justa y trabajadores informales. También estamos incidiendo hoy día también en las grandes COP, donde participamos de forma colectiva y participativa. Somos un grupo de hombres y mujeres que hemos aprendido a entender que si no nos organizamos, no vamos a poder defender nuestros derechos humanos. Por eso necesitamos también la visibilización, la articulación de todos los actores y nuestros aliados. Para nosotros es clave participar en este tipo de espacios para dar a conocer que los recicladores de base no es un grupo de hombres y mujeres ignorantes que no tienen idea de lo que están haciendo o lo que están defendiendo. Es clave también entender eso. Somos un grupo vulnerable, sí, pero sí también entendemos la importancia y la relevancia que tiene nuestro actuar y nuestro trabajo en cada uno de nuestros países. El movimiento colombiano es uno de los movimientos más fuertes de recicladores de base que ha logrado incidir en derechos sumamente importantes, sobre todo como es el derecho a los seguros sociales de vida que debe tener un ser humano. 15 años de garantía en la gestión de residuos por un derecho histórico que les pertenece. Colombia tiene una articulación de un movimiento muy fuerte y sobre todo de un liderazgo que ha defendido y ha posesionado los derechos de los recicladores en ese país. Hoy día, gracias a esas leyes que se están implementando en Colombia, estamos articulando también nuestros países. Pero aún así es frágil, porque cada 4 años hay nuevas elecciones, llegan nuevos presidentes con ideas y políticas de diferentes formas y destruyen lo que hemos avanzado. Por eso es importante también la articulación y la organización. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Soledad, for this addition. Lots of clapping and hearts to you. I think, Rodrigo Leva, you had your hand up first, and
Yes.
maybe you wanted to come in on the Chile case.
Yes, Angelina, thank you very much. I would like to congratulate Soledad, my colleague Soledad, and other waste speakers representative in the meeting. I would like to ask a question to Soledad in Spanish.
Sure.
Hola, Soledad. Te quería preguntar para que puedas explicar, en Chile hemos logrado mucho con el reconocimiento y la integración de los recicladores de base en la implementación de la red, pero yo sé que hay un problema muy serio para poder obtener la infraestructura necesaria para las cooperativas, para poder realmente desarrollarse y de alguna forma tomar la responsabilidad de territorios en el país con los recursos que realmente necesitan. ¿Tú podrías explicar qué es lo que estás haciendo en Chile respecto a eso?
Bueno, nosotros venimos levantando un concepto de hace mucho rato, desde el Tratado de Plástico hasta la fecha, que es el concepto de una transición justa. Cuando hablamos de transición justa, no hablamos solamente de derechos humanos, no hablamos solamente de reconocimiento y dignificación, No hablamos solamente de visibilizar a los recicladores de base. Cuando hablamos de transición justa, hablamos justamente de financiamiento y por eso creemos importante la capacidad de cada uno de nuestro movimiento para articular esa negociación. Hoy día, a través de las 54 cooperativas de recicladores de base que hemos levantado en Chile, estamos logrando levantar y conseguir financiamiento. Lamentablemente, el mundo bancario a nosotros no nos acredita debido al historial que tenemos como trabajadores informales. Buscamos escenarios y espacios diferentes donde las financieras de cooperativas de recicladores de base hoy día son las que nos están entregando recursos, pero eso significa endeudamiento para los recicladores de base. A pesar de todo eso, igual lo hacemos. Además de eso, las alianzas que tenemos a nivel nacional con el mundo privado, pero sobre todo la alianza internacional con la filantropía que ha puesto recursos también para poder mejorar las condiciones de los recicladores de base. Entre eso, la Fundación Ford, que ayuda muy fuertemente a la Alianza Internacional de Recicladores, Fundación Coca-Cola Chile, que también ayuda directamente a los recicladores de base poniendo financiamiento directo, logrando comprar infraestructura, logrando arrendar galpones para poder hacernos cargo de la gestión de residuos. En pocas palabras, lo que hemos hecho en Chile es tratar de golpear puertas y puertas para poder levantar financiamiento que permita garantizar la participación de los recicladores de base dentro de la gestión de residuos y no quedar fuera, no por capacidad, no por conocimiento, sino solamente por no contar con la infraestructura económica necesaria para poder ser competitivos dentro de este sistema. Lamentablemente, las grandes transnacionales en Chile, como también las grandes transnacionales en toda Latinoamérica y el mundo, se están tomando el control de la gestión de residuos. Actores que en toda su vida enterraron basura, hoy día se transformaron en grandes gestores y son nuestra mayor competencia, pero también hay que visibilizar la importancia de los recicladores de base dentro de esta gestión y también desenmascarar que la empresa de entierro de basura no va a hacer mejor el trabajo que los recicladores de base que lo hemos hecho históricamente. Cuando se habla del 60% del reciclaje en el mundo, se habla que el 60%, por lo menos nosotros tenemos una actuación del 40% de ese 60% que hemos generado nosotros a través de nuestra obra y de nuestro trabajo y nuestro oficio. Eso, gracias.
Thank you. I hope that answered your question, Rodrigo. Then I think the next one was Jean-Christophe Loger with the hand up, and then the other user, and then we'll get to the questions in the chat.
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, I want to acknowledge the fact that brands are now trying to make sure that within their recycling ambition and circularity ambition, there is an inclusion dimension. And they're really struggling to have a transparency around the supply chain and to engage especially the local transformer. So this is a new situation where you have initiatives such as TCI, FCIs, and my question could be how to partner with waste pickers organization and let's say more visible brands, corporation, which try to influence the inclusion of waste pickers in this circularity ambition. So whatever we can do on this field is more than welcome. And I have a specific question to Pietro. I'm wondering about the integration of Romanian, the Roma, amazing work that is done in Europe, but they are always flagged as, you know, potential travelers when they are recycling in the street of Paris or wherever. But those people are also a specific community that needs support in their tremendous work they do around the valorization of some of the waste. So my question is there any specific action undertaken by the waste pickers organization Global North to support the Roma community? Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much for these two questions. Yes, Pietro, please.
Okay. Yes, we had a lot of experiments in different countries of Europe. In my case, I raised my leadership by the Rome, the capital, Rome City, the capital of Italy, where Roma people has a big part of the West speaker population. And we had a successful experiment of formalization, regularization of Roma people, improving their condition of life. But because of the demagogy of the local politic, our formalized cooperatives and association to work in the market, to call it regularly, were closed without a reason. So that was really a problem of demagogy of the local politic and the municipality. And in other cities of Italy, we have more experience, but always we are struggling with local politics. Also in Balkans and in Eastern Europe, we have a big Roma population. Support is needed. Sometime a project were started, but the support was not effective in the long term. So project started and then collapsed. There is a lot of problems. But we think that we could overcome this kind of problem being stronger as an European alliance, so making a national movement and a single European movement to go directly to the European Commission and negotiate funding and more favorable rules, especially.
Okay, thank you. And I saw that Luyanda, you had your hand up as well. Did you want to come in on the first part of the question, cooperation with brands? How's that possible, or any other aspect?
Thank you very much, Angelina. Sorry, I think that's a very, very important aspect of cooperation with brands. In Africa, we have already started getting work done with the likes of FCI and TCI. I'll make an example in South Africa where we have partnered with FCI on how we create governance issues, governance cooperation between government, PROs, producers, and waste pickers. For instance, in South Africa, we never have a clear understanding between government and waste pickers on implementing the problem of EPR and service fees because there was no governance. And FCI played an advocacy body to bring along different stakeholders to create that process. And after about 5 years of not implementing the service fee for waste pickers, this year, with the process, with advocates of FCI, that has already been done. In Kenya, where there's a proper bottom-up approach through TCI and the waste pickers in Kenya, the Kenwapa, we are already starting to look at how do we advocate into having producers and waste pickers co-designing an EPR model, co-designing how producers support waste pickers on the ground on something implementable, programs that are implementable. In South Africa right now, we are having brands who are communicating with waste pickers directly and finding ways of how do we do research-driven programs that directly support waste pickers. So I think that is a very important aspect that actually helps guide the process. I mean, waste pickers and government, there's a very, very fine line that is mostly disturbed by language. We may speak the same language, but the interpretation between government, people, and the people on the ground is very different. And bodies like FCI and TCI solve that problem.
That's great to hear. Thanks for sharing that example of good cooperation. Great. Pietro or Soledad, would you like to add on that regarding cooperation with brands? Okay.
In Italy, we have a debate, it's pretty intense, about the parallel streams. So there are the EPR streams and there are the parallel streams. The parallel streams now in the debate is the stream that is not in the standard but is more competitive because having not the standard, there are lower cost. A big share of the circular economy is still managed by enterprises that really are not respecting the law. Where are we speakers in this debate? We speakers are absolutely in the middle, and but also in some of the more gray zones of the system. So involve us if the PR, the corporation would involve us, surely we could contribute in putting visibility, shedding light in the system, and also leading our collection, in the case of recycle, to the more proper supply chain. In the case of Italy, we have this phenomena that we name terra dei fuochi, land of fire. So systematically, for decades, a lot of waste was simply burned in the field in South Italy. And now the controls are higher. The tendency is to export the waste to Africa. So the land of fires is moved to Africa, and this waste is accounted as a circular goal of Europe, but part of it is burned in Africa. So we are dialoguing a lot with our African comrades, with speakers to develop a common vision about this international supply chain and also how to contribute to shed light in the system. So really, we are tired to be considered as the dirty part of the system, because really we are not. But just we need to be involved, to collaborate, to the transparency in the system, and to avoid this kind of criminal phenomena. But sometimes it's difficult to reach the PR people, to reach the corporation. There is a part of the ideology here. So there is an ideology of the large scale system, and the micro scale is undervalued. So they don't consider us because often we are migrant, we are vulnerable people, but also for our micro scale condition. But micro scale condition can be very effective and can reach this part of the system that the large scale cannot reach. And we are also sure that also in terms of efficiency, we can complement the system in a very effective way. But at the state of the things that we are escaping from the police when we try to sell the item we reuse, we resell in the street. There is no space for us. The rule has not designed not to make our work legal. So this is the point.
Thank you for adding here. Now I see a gentleman. You have your hand up since quite a while, but you don't have entered your name. Usario Dosum. If you would like to ask your question now. The gentleman.
Severino.
T-shirt.
Severino.
Severino. Please come in. Thank you, Soledad.
Yo puse mi nombre, Seve, para disminuir un poco. Bueno, buenas tardes, buenas noches, buenos días a todos y todas. Bueno, solo para comentar la necesidad de hacermos ese tipo de tarea, de seminario, webinario, como se llama, por la importancia de intercambiar situaciones, ¿no? Sabemos que América Latina tiene sus problemáticas, África tenemos la problemática, la parte de Europa, y ese es el gran objetivo, que todos puedan participar, sacar un poco de su tiempo. Lo sabemos que unos están a las 10 horas de la noche, otros muy temprano, mas es para poder empezar a comprender el rol de dificultad que tenemos a nivel internacional. Y hay muchas veces nosotros pecamos de no discutir o dividir ese tipo de información. Entonces, los ruego a todos, primeramente, parabenizo la coordinación, parabenizo a los compañeros que charlaron ahí, súper potente la charla sobre EPR, y hay otras problemáticas como el proceso de incineración que está llegando, la cuestión de que sacan el derecho de nosotros, hacemos la voz. Muy buena la charla de solidaridad y en sentido. Nosotros tenemos ya muchos voceros a nivel internacional y puede hacer representación de sus países, de sus continentes. Y solamente para eso, es una forma de empoderamiento de los recicladores, de los West Pickers del mundo. Y para nosotros, por parte de la Alianza Internacional, nos quedamos muy contentos con esa tarea y agradecemos inmensamente la coordinación y la charla de los compañeros y de los compañeros que pararon un poco de su tiempo de trabajo y están acá, por lo menos, participando activamente de ese webinario. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, Severino, for your warm words. And yeah, I can only second that. Again, here someone having the mic open, and I would kindly ask to mute yourself. Yeah, thank you for the kind words, and I can only second that. Thanks for all the speakers for sharing your lessons, not only from your countries but also from other countries. This is really valuable. Carola, I see your hand, also Nora, but I also want to pick some questions from the chat because they have been posted some while ago, but I'll get back to you. Okay. And I summarized two questions to you, Soledad. Both were posted in Spanish, but I quickly translated them, one by Key and one by Ninoska. Key is asking for strategies you use to raise awareness of the work carried out by the recyclers. And then Ninoska is asking also for the general lessons learned from Chile that can be really replicated in other countries or can serve as models for other countries in the region. Maybe do these two questions to you, Soledad.
Sí, muchas gracias. Con respecto a las recomendaciones, yo creo que una de las recomendaciones más importantes que hemos venido haciendo a todos nuestros compañeros, líderes y lideresas de los distintos países, es la articulación y la organización de los recicladores de base. Articular y juntar a los recicladores de base es fundamental para realmente hacer entender a nuestros propios camaradas, a nuestros propios compañeros, la labor tan loable y tan importante que han hecho históricamente y que hoy tiene tremenda oportunidad de ser reconocida, pero sobre todo pagada por algo que hemos hecho durante tanto tiempo y que nunca fue pagado. Por eso por un lado yo creo. Y por otro lado, las experiencias que tenemos en Chile tienen que ver justamente con la incidencia política. Nosotros no hemos dejado ningún espacio liberado en cuanto a las negociaciones políticas que se están haciendo en nuestro país, tanto como Estado, también a nivel local. Cada alcalde, cada municipio conoce que existen recicladores en su territorio y por ende debe ser escuchado. Entonces, bajo esa línea, lo que nosotros recomendamos para todos nuestros hermanos del mundo que están participando en EPR, no dejar pasar ningún espacio político que los deje fuera de la negociación y de la conversación en cuanto a la co-construcción de estos instrumentos. Lo estamos haciendo en México hoy día frente a una economía circular completamente aprobada por el Estado, pero que hoy día estamos también poniendo énfasis en los decretos que debe tener esta economía circular. O sea, es sumamente necesario que nuestros compañeros entiendan que la incidencia del reciclador de base en cada uno de nuestros países no tiene que ver con el que te representa o el que habla por ti. Eres tú el que tiene que ir a negociar la realidad y la necesidad de articular, reconocer, evidenciar y catastrar a los recicladores que existen en cada uno de sus países. Ley de Chile no es perfecta, es imperfecta, está en construcción, pero nosotros estamos a la cabeza de cada uno de los procesos que se están viviendo en cuanto al marco de ley, sobre todo de los residuos que hoy día se están levantando. Eléctrico y electrónico, textil, orgánico, madera, construcción, neumático, baterías. Estamos en todos los residuos hablando con los grandes sistemas de gestión, pero sobre todo con nuestro país, con los que gobiernan nuestro país. Somos la incidencia, pero para ser incidentes debemos estar a la cabeza de cada uno de los procesos. Eso. Espero haya respondido a las preguntas.
Angelina, you're mute.
Angelina, are you still here?
Muted. Thanks, Dorothee. Thanks for that hint. Okay, I was just reading out one question from the chat. Another dimension we haven't talked about is the gender dynamics. So Junko is asking, how can and should EPR policies be designed to better account for gender dynamics within the informal sector, particularly to support the role, safety, and economic empowerment of women waste pickers? I think that's a new aspect we haven't touched upon yet. Is anyone able and willing to share your thoughts here? Dorothee, I'm not sure if maybe in the session with UNOS Environment Hub, we touched upon the topic of gender dynamics. I think maybe it has been covered there, but also if anyone else worked on this particular topic, you can also write your experiences in the chat. Thanks.
As far
yes.
as I remember, we did not.
We
So
did not.
it's actually a topic where we still have ground to cover.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for raising that important topic, Junko.
Ángela,
Yes,
Ángela,
please.
quiero aportar algo sobre el tema de género. ¿Se escucha?
Yes, wonderful. Please go ahead.
La mayoría de las organizaciones de recicladores en el mundo tienen un muy alto porcentaje de mujeres recicladoras de base. El tema de género es uno de los temas esenciales dentro de nuestra articulación y nuestra construcción. En Latinoamérica somos más de 2 millones de recicladores, hoy día más de 4 millones, perdón, en Latinoamérica. Y me atrevería a decir que el 60% son mujeres. A nivel global es más de 40 millones de recicladores de base en el mundo y también me atrevo a decir que más del 70% son mujeres. Entonces estamos hablando de un tema de género que nos toca directamente. La vulneración de derechos hacia las mujeres dentro del mundo del reciclaje es mucho más fuerte y relativamente más violenta que la vulneración de derechos que tienen nuestros compañeros. El solo hecho de ser mujer vulnera completamente los derechos básicos que debe tener una mujer en un mundo laboral. El derecho al baño, el derecho a tener un lugar donde alimentarte, el derecho de tener donde dejar a tus hijos, de cuidado, seguro, a no ser cuestionada o condenada por andar trabajando con tus hijos. Hay un montón de cosas que suceden dentro del mundo de los recicladores y donde las recicladoras de base tienen una vulneración grande de derechos. Por eso también la RELAC Latinoamérica y el Caribe y también la Alianza Internacional ha puesto énfasis sumamente claro e importante dentro de la lideresa o la dirigencia de cada uno de los movimientos. La participación debe ser paritaria, siempre debe ser paritaria. Por lo mismo, porque creemos que las mujeres tienen mucho que aportar y porque somos la mayor cantidad de mujeres recicladoras de base dentro del oficio hoy día, articulando el tema medioambiental. Así que el tema de género va muy ligado a la vulneración de derechos y a la lucha que dan los recicladores de base a nivel global. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Soledad, for shedding some light on this topic. Bertie also contributed in the chat saying that the PhD is on exploring the role, contribution, and vulnerabilities of women and children in e-waste informal scrapyards. Yeah, we're very much looking forward to hearing from you in the future. Please reach out once your project is done. Thanks for sharing that. Okay. We still have two hands up. I would ask Carola and then Nora to present your questions, and then we can do one last round for each speaker to intervene, please.
Thank you, Angelina. So I work independently in waste management and inclusive circular economy, but above all, over 20 years of experience in an NGO, work with grassroots recyclers. Now, I am a technical volunteer of a women network called Ecorecolectoras Association in Bolivia. And I can say that has to be a clarity regarding the responsibilities of the municipalities and the EPR systems, because the problem I saw is often that these systems are subordinate to the municipal management. And it could be complementary to the municipal waste management. So the EPR has the freedom to contract grassroots recyclers, invest in them, and collect information about the traceability of the secondary materials they are collecting. Another problem is that private waste management systems alone cannot collect enough waste to economically support families without collaboration of the municipality. And in the future, the EPRs would face this ISO, the circular economy standards. So the question is, to the speakers, do you think that a micro concessions agreement for recyclers could work? In other words, a micro concession is paid per ton collected by the municipal system, because the grassroots recyclers are helping to avoid this volume of waste that could be at the landfill. But at the same time, these secondary materials that the recyclers collect could be for benefits for them to sell. So it would be great, because we are working on that model or that strategy.
Okay.
Yeah. So the question is that.
Thanks, Carola. Before I invite the speakers to come in, Nora, you have your hand down again. Would you like to quickly ask your question, and then we can do one last round for interventions for our three speakers? No.
Excuse me.
Okay.
So
then we take Carola's question. The interlinkage between municipalities and EPR, and if micro concessions agreements for recyclers would be a solution. Any thoughts on this one?
Puedo contar la experiencia en Chile, en marco de la ley. Cuando aparecen los grandes sistemas de gestión en nuestros países, en este caso las leyes EPR, implementan modelos de gestión de residuos. Se llaman en Chile, por lo menos, se les llama Gran SIG, que son Sistema Integrado de Gestión de Residuos. Estos grandes SIG toman la concesión, de alguna forma, la privatización de los residuos. Pero en el marco de la ley tienen que cumplir decretos. Y los decretos están enmarcados en la cantidad de residuos que deben recuperar de las grandes empresas de envase y embalaje que ponen en el mercado. Para que esto resulte, estos grandes sistemas de gestión, que son como un intermediario frente a la gran transnacional que genera el residuo y este intermediario que sale a buscar recuperar este residuo para que esta gran transnacional cumpla con sus metas o con los decretos que establece la ley, buscan distintos actores. Ese es el sistema que se está implementando en Chile. ¿Cómo se puede garantizar la participación de los recicladores de base? Es a través de convenios directos con el gran sistema de gestión, porque al final lo que pasa con estos grandes sistemas de gestión en el marco de la ley es que le da total, absoluto derecho al municipio a ver con quién quiere trabajar. Son los municipios que definen y deciden si quieren trabajar con recicladores de bases o con el mundo privado. Por eso es tan importante la participación de los recicladores dentro de esta negociación. ¿Qué logramos en Chile? Logramos que a través de nuestras organizaciones de recicladores de base se genere un convenio directo, no a través de licitaciones. Generalmente este tipo de marcos de ley abre una puerta tremendamente grande al mundo privado a través de las licitaciones de participación para la gestión de residuos. En pocas palabras, estas leyes pueden ser muy buenas, pero también pueden ser muy peligrosas para los recicladores de base si no tenemos claridad de lo que se está ofreciendo en marco de esta ley. Nosotros logramos entrar hoy día con convenio directo a través de estos grandes sistemas de gestión, pero es el municipio el que decide si nosotros entramos o no entramos. O sea, en pocas palabras, el municipio dice, yo quiero que la gestión de residuos en mi comuna, en mi provincia, en mi ciudad, la hagan los recicladores de base. Por ende, estos grandes sistemas de gestión que son intermediarios de la gestión de residuos son los que ponen en énfasis que tienen que buscar recicladores, organizaciones, cooperativas, pero toda en el marco de la formalidad. El sistema de gestión obliga la formalización y formalidad de los recicladores de base para poder ser trazable los volúmenes de materiales que se recuperan. ¿Puede haber un sistema de gestión directo? Sí, puede haber, pero no garantiza el pago por servicio y la valorización del material a un precio justo. Entonces, los sistemas de gestión tienen dos tareas. Una, garantizar que el valor del material tenga un valor justo para la venta de los recicladores de base y por otro lado, que se pague por el servicio que nosotros hacemos. ¿Qué significa eso? Que en el fondo nosotros logramos que se pagara por el servicio que hacemos, pero además se valorizara el material como un incentivo a mayor recolección de residuos. El reciclador de base en Chile recibe un pago por la gestión de recuperar el material puerta a puerta o a través de las empresas, etcétera. Además de eso, valorizar el material y que se le pague aparte por el valor del material como incentivo a recuperar mucho más material. Ese es el escenario que tenemos hoy día en Chile, pero también, insisto, con el riesgo de no garantizar contratos claros y concretos y directos hacia los recicladores de base, sino a través de tercerizar el servicio para las cooperativas. Eso.
Thank you, Soledad. Very clear. Thanks so much. Luyanda, do you have anything to add? Any last thoughts to share? Maybe also Pietro, wrapping up the session.
Yes, I would like to say that what is saying Soledad is very important, and in Europe, the scenario we see upon the PR is no different, really. For us, it could be a good opportunity, or the final shot to die. And we have a lot of problem with municipality right now. Before I mentioned the problem of the demagogy and racism, and this is a real problem. So we have a lot of municipality, and this is not a matter of right wing, left wing, because we are treated often in the same way. But municipality, because part of the population is pushing against us, tend to not include us. So the raising of this of this EPR power that are more centralized, that function at national level normally, could be for us an opportunity to have a more rational reasoning with an important decision maker. But of course, if this EPR organization, this pro, close us the door, the situation for us will get even worse.
Thank you, Pietro. Luyanda, anything from your side to be added? Otherwise, we're wrapping up now, being sensitive of the time. Okay, I can't see or hear you. Yeah, sorry, we couldn't take all the questions. Sorry, Laura. Yeah, but being sensitive of the time, wrapping up now. On behalf of the GAP for EPR, we really want to thank Soledad, Luyanda, Pietro for sharing your insights today. This was really, really valuable. And we also want to thank Taylor and Alejandro from the International Alliance of Waste Pickers who supported us in the background. And also thanks to Marco for the wonderful interpretation, and also Vilma from OECD and my colleague Dorothy for the technical support. I hope you enjoyed the session and the exchange. And if you want to stay connected with the GAP for EPR, you see our details here. There will be another webinar in Spanish on the 30th of July, also organized by the GAP for EPR, this time on global EPR partnerships and global and regional PRO networks. So again, another nice webinar to get to know more people and stakeholders and organizations involved in the EPR sphere. So again, very warm thank you to all the speakers and also to the audience for your wonderful questions and your engagement. Wishing you a nice end of the day.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you.